Dan has, again, a wealth of experience in the subject matter that he's going to address, leading a cold chain project in the Philippines. He's also worked in Bangladesh, Pakistan, Indonesia, and about a dozen sub-Saharan African countries. And so he's going to talk to us a little bit about the challenges that producers have that want to raise the market value of their product and some of the challenges that they run into and possible solutions. And again, this comes out of a great deal of experience. Dan's made what seems like a right turn shift lately, leading this Whiterock Conservancy, a 5,500 acre nonprofit organization up near Coon Rapids, Iowa. But as he was saying, the circumstances and the context and the size of equipment might vary, but the fundamental issues that farmers around the world work with are all the same. And so, Dan, it's great to have you here. Please come and share with us.
Good morning, everybody. Oh, come on. Really? Once again, good morning. Thank you for paying attention, and welcome to the conference. This is the third time that I've been invited to speak at ECHO Conference. Martin and I have known each other for quite a long time, longer than we want to maybe remember. But I used to work for Heifer International out of Little Rock, Arkansas, and that's kind of how I got started with cold chain. We did wonderful work at Heifer, they still do. Not a cup, but a cow, passing on the gift, all of those good development work that Heifer does with all types of animals. And we worked extensively in East Africa, especially where everybody loves to drink milk. What you find, though, is after everybody in the community gets a cow, they have to start thinking about where the milk's going to go. And so where does the milk go? The milk has to go to where the people are. And where are the people? They're in the city. And how do you get the milk to the city? You need a transportation, you need a, it's up there, first word, cold chain. So people say, what is a cold chain? What is that? I don't know what that is, okay? A cold chain is, for example, how the fruit got to the plate out there that you just ate at the break without you getting sick, okay? And those grapes didn't come from Florida, they probably came from Chile. And so how they got here and ended up on that plate in this hotel is what a cold chain is. Now, we all need a cold chain if you want to get into products that have a higher value in agriculture and the work you do. So my title is Waste Not, Want Not, Can't Always Get What You Want, or Follow the Ice Cream. Now, a lot of people say, my place is too poor. I don't have any cold chain here, it doesn't exist, okay? But I can tell you, my friends, if there's ice cream, there's a cold chain. So follow the ice cream backwards. You just have to pay attention because a cold chain is often invisible. People think about food these days like it's something magic. When you go into the supermarket, you go to Walmart, it magically appears on the shelves there and you don't know what happened all the way behind the scenes because it's a secret. It happens behind closed doors. What does your mother tell you before you sit down to eat? How many people in this room, their mother told them to wash their hands before they sat down to eat? Okay, let me do it this other way. How many people had a mother that told them not to wash their hands? Okay, so 100%, right? We're all in agreement. We should, train from a young baby, wash your hands before you eat. Now, that's part of cold chain. Did you know that? This is part of agriculture. Why? I just heard the previous speaker say when 40% of the avocado trees fell down during the last hurricane here, you can't pick them up off the ground and sell them anymore. It's against regulations. Why? Because you want to have clean food in your system. So, who knows what you've been touching? Maybe you've been touching a pig. Maybe you've been rubbing your elbow. Maybe you've been touching a baby's diaper, and then you're going to go eat, right? So wash your hands, very simple. That's part of cold chain. Everybody here knows about that. And everybody here can participate in doing that to make sure that the food chain is kept safe. So, let me ask you another question. Raise your hands. How many people like to eat dirty food? Raise your hand. I want to eat dirty food for lunch. How about this? How many people want to feed contaminated milk to their baby? 100% again. We should all vote for a political election here. We'd have a great something to happen. 100% of people in this room agree that clean, okay, is better than dirty. This is part of what a cold chain is. It's stuff you learned when you were a little kid. But guess what? People, even here in the United States, because 1 out of 6 people in the United States may get a foodborne illness this year. That's in the United States, okay? Now, in developing countries where maybe only 10% of the food is in a cold chain at all, the percentage could be a lot higher. But okay, what do you see about this chopping block for meat in a market here? Would you say that's clean or dirty? Why do people continue to tolerate dirty when everybody wants to eat clean food? Why? Lack of discipline, I guess. People not wanting to confront the issue. People saying that this is okay. Can you imagine what's in that block of wood? It's hardwood. U.S. outlawed this 30, 40 years ago. I can remember this growing up. Our butcher in our supermarket had a wooden chopping block, but this is outlawed in the United States. Why? Because inside that block is where germs love to live. And so you take, even if the meat was properly prepared, it was chilled, it was brought to the market in a plastic bag, it's slapped down on the market on the table, somebody starts chopping it with that knife, basically you're saying, okay, germs, wake up. Jump into the meat, okay? So we all agree, clean is better than dirty. Mom said wash your hands. We're halfway to what a cold chain is all about. So it's not that difficult a thing to do either. It's not something that requires, although in the United States it is something that requires transportation links, big food systems, big buildings. Cold chain is something that you can do in your own farm. It's common sense. Well, you think it's common sense because you can go to any market and, well, I can go to supermarkets here, restaurants here, right in Florida and find some nasty things. So once you start seeing this, once your eyes are open to this, it becomes a natural thing for you to want to train people about what proper handling practices are. So for example, if you have a crop of vegetables that are perishable, when should you harvest them? Should you harvest them morning, noon, evening? You should harvest it when it's coolest, okay? When the nature allows you to take these crops when it's cool because heat promotes rot. And as soon as you harvest something, it starts to rot, basically. And freezing, cooling, chilling helps to slow that process down. Oh my, what happened here? Anybody seen this before? You can see this in the US too, it's not only, okay, so this is in Cagayan de Oro, northern Philippines. This is from the highlands of Bukidnon province. Wonderful place there, beautiful land. This is disorganization, okay? This is people's fault creating wasted food. And wasting food is pretty close to sin as far as I can figure out, okay? This is disorganization. These are iceberg lettuce taken down from the mountain, brought in here. Well, you can see if you look at the, where they've cut the iceberg lettuce, a lot of it's brown. It's been taking a long time to get down the hill. Wasn't pre-chilled. And what this woman is doing is she's taking the outer leaves off, peeling each leaf off, until she gets to the stuff that's crunchy and saleable, and then taking it into the next cool store to sell it into Cagayan de Oro, which is a big city. Basically, they have a big pile, a compost pile out back full of worms, and they put all this food waste into that compost pile. At least the worms are happy with this. But this is food going to waste, basically. So the funny thing about cold chain is, as I said before, it's kind of a secret. Cold chain requires refrigeration. It requires keeping things chilled and cool, and generally that's because what happens there is people have big buildings and they put everything inside that big building. They don't have a lot of windows, doesn't require a lot of staff, and so you see a building like this. You say, what's inside? I only see a few people going in and out. No vehicles during the middle of the day. They come in at night, they go out at night. What's happening inside there, okay? So I can assure you, in every country, wherever you're from, that's there. You just don't know what it is because it looks like a big secret jail cell. In fact, you can just see it there, B and C, ice and cold store. And if you get to know the manager, he'll let you inside and he'll show you what goes on in there and you'll learn a little bit more about the food chain and what's happening. Oh my, have you seen this before? What's happening here? You don't know what's happening here? That's a dead pig. That is not a cold pig, and that pig does not look cold at all. This is what you call temperature abuse. My wife worked in food service for 26 years, okay? We go to a hotel like this. When you don't see that little burner under some of your entree, like this for lunch, and they're not keeping that food at 160 degrees, that's temperature abuse. What's happening here? The woman, she's got that chopping block back there, make sure they get plenty of germs in the meat, right? This is hot meat, never been chilled, could have been butchered nicely, but then what she do, she brings it there, slaps it down on a piece of cardboard, chops it up with a dirty knife. Don't look underneath the table, okay? Because there's all sorts of interesting things underneath the table. Then this pig here basically is a petri dish for germs to come and sit on it and grow. So you better cook it really well or you're going to have runny tummy. Who hasn't had runny tummy here? Huh? I can name all the diseases I've had from not eating the right kind of food, but this is just meat alone. She's learned how to do this, and she can easily learn how to undo these things that she's doing. Bad practices cost very little, just training. And we've experienced this before in our cold chain project in the Philippines, helping people to understand what they need to do to handle their meat, handle their food, handle their product better so that the people that are buying it from them, in fact, don't get sick. So you can go online, University of Florida. This one happened to be one I just picked from North Carolina. Oops, that's backwards. From North Carolina here. But in that last picture, okay, they list these things that are happening. It's small, I'll read it. Cross-contamination, poor food handling, probably no hand washing, improper storage, inadequate sanitation, poor hygiene, spoilage, and temperature abuse, all happening in one picture. So people here in the United States, it's a problem as well. Different problem because we process our foods differently and whatnot. But let me tell you, McDonald's and every company where you're eating in a fast food establishment has people that are very, very concerned about the cold chain. And then there's a whole list down here, a whole list of different types of bacteria and things like that that love to grow on food that is not being handled the right way. So, okay, back to, you say, well, United States doesn't apply. This is a picture in the Philippines. These people have been trained by East West Seeds. You can start with simple steps, okay? First of all is, you should have good packaging, okay? They're doing a field sort here. They pick stuff in the morning, and then they're teaching all of these people about what the market needs. Some people start a project. I'm going to raise a cow. I'm going to have a garden. I'm going to grow food. And then it grows up, and you say, oh my goodness, where do I market it? You shouldn't put the seed in the ground or buy the animal unless you already know what you're going to do with it at the very end. And people are not always thinking about that because they're enamored with growing, but they're not enamored with marketing. What happens in a case like this, these people here have no idea where the best price is for these ampalaya, this bitter squash. They haven't ventured out into the market. They haven't asked the questions about where they can get the best price. They haven't talked about packaging. They haven't talked about how to sell into the supermarkets, how to get a regular market there, because they've always sat at home and not ventured out to where the market is. But even in developing countries like the Philippines, this is really important to get people to start thinking about when to harvest, how to harvest, what to do, how to sort, and how to keep that product as fresh as possible for as long as possible in order to get the best price. So we could stop world hunger today. The solution is already here. We don't need any more land. We don't need any more water. We could decrease the amount of carbon emissions equivalent to every auto on the planet if we went to 0% food waste. We could feed 10 billion people today for what's grown on the earth, okay? That's what the population will be in about 2050. Except that the way we manage food now is so wasteful that we lose at least a third of it, sometimes 40% or more, between the farm and fork. And so what this website is doing is something that you can Google food loss and food waste, and the food loss and food waste sets standards for how to measure improvements, and this is an FAO site, I believe, on how to help decrease, or what to do to decrease food loss and food waste. Now, I'm going to tell you a secret today. It's not a secret. Anybody know Lisa Kitanoja here? Anybody done this training? Okay, this is the perfect thing for this group. Okay, if you don't know Dr. Lisa, Google her. If you think I'm full of beans, and this can't be done in a country like Haiti, or it can't be done in a country like Tanzania, Dr. Lisa Kitanoja is the expert on grassroots food loss, food waste training. She has an online course for people like you. She runs the Post-Harvest Education Foundation. Now, if you're from the United States, the other place to really go, and I'd recommend that you take a trip to, the person I know is Dr. Beth Mitchum, and this is the Post-Harvest Educational Center at University of California in Davis. We could go on. This is both of these people do coursework that takes weeks at a time. So I'm just telling you this today so you can, in your own time, have a look at what these folks do. So that's Dr. Lisa in the middle there, and this is a group from Burundi. People are going into business in African countries to tell others how to decrease food loss and food waste, because farmers can make more money if they're not throwing them as much away, or it's not going into the compost pile. So here it says, utilizing improved post-harvest practices often results in reduced food losses, improved overall quality, and food safety, and higher profits for growers and marketers. That's what we're trying to do. If you read the ECHO website for East Africa, it says about the same thing and some of the main points about what the ECHO is trying to promote as well. So Dr. Lisa and her foundation, I'd encourage you to look her up if you want to know more about how to make more money with the food that you produce. Now, this is the Post-Harvest Center at the University of California, Davis's website. And the reason that I wanted to show you this is, you say, well, what temperature should I keep my avocado at? We don't have time to talk about that today. How should I do my mango? What should I do with my mango? What should I do with my cauliflower? So all of that is that right there, okay? So what comes up is a big page of all sorts of nice little representation of fruits and vegetables, and you click on that, and it has a full, complete page of what you should do for the types of fruit, vegetables, product that you're handling to maximize the storage and handling for these. So that says produce fact sheets, storage recommendations. That's just a treasure trove of information right there. And you can see these are some folks from Latin America that have been there for training. And this is just an excellent place to go if you ever have a chance to visit University of California, Davis, about how to take care of food and maximize your productivity. Okay, so what's happening here in this picture? This is back to the Philippines again. This happens to be in Cebu. Again, Cebu is like a big long island, like a cigar, has mountains running down the center. You go up into the mountains. It's a great place to grow vegetables. So these people are coming down to a vegetable trading center, and it appears that they're selling cabbage, right? You all recognize that that's cabbage? I hope. But what's the problem here? So what do you see? The lady with the stripes, guess who she is? She's a buyer. Yeah, that's exactly who she is, okay? What's she want to do, the lady in the stripes? Does she want to help the woman with the red shirt? No, she wants to maximize her profits. She wants to maximize the middle. She wants to drive the price down as low as she can and give as little as possible to the woman here who's worked so hard to raise it, okay? So what are they doing? This is fresh. You can, if you look at the butt end where they've harvested, it's really fresh. It's just white. They've just harvested this morning. They put it in big baskets. They carried it down the mountain. They've taken the trading center, and then it goes down about a 2-hour trip down to Cebu. But what's happening here? Same thing, okay? They don't have the capacity to chill the produce, to store the produce, and so they're peeling off 2-3 leaves, make a nice, repackaging it, weighing it, and then sending it down the mountain on the top of a truck. So it can have nice exposure to heat and sunlight and all these, good things that, are going to give you runny tummy again. So these are things where you can work with groups, you can work with groups of people, explain to them what's really needed to maximize their production. But the problem again here is this woman here doesn't know what this woman knows. And as soon as you empower this woman, these women here, to what the price is for a good product in the place where there's all the people, she becomes more empowered because she gets more money for her product then, because knowledge is power in the case of working with a cold chain. So this is a little small, but I'll just read it again to you as well. It just says, adequate and proper harvesting and handling of fresh produce are critical preconditions for long storage and shelf lives. Okay, so shelf life or holding time is a very important thing that people at the big supermarkets talk about all the time. How long can this thing stay cold and still be good so people will buy it? Harvest at the proper time. Be careful when you harvest. Put the good stuff in the cold store, and don't put the bad stuff in the cold store. Seems like common sense. It's pretty easy. Sort it, clean it, and then transport it in a way that doesn't rough up the fruit. I was in Bali. The farmers up in Bali in the mountains grow strawberries. They're beautiful strawberries. Their packaging wasn't good. By the time the strawberries made it down to the beach, down a rough hill like that, the packaging like this, all the strawberries were being rubbed like this on one side. So the tourists would look at the strawberry, and it would be roughed up on one side and maybe starting to rot a little bit and then nice on the other, and they don't want it because of improper packaging, improper handling. And just like everything else, just like people, you need to clean, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, you need to clean these things with clean water. Dirty water on clean produce means, I was in Cameroon one time, just rained in Yaoundé. A woman's bringing, it's like the bib lettuce to market in a basket. The rain, the gutter is flowing down the street in Yaoundé. She's taking the lettuce out like this and doing this in the gutter. Okay? It comes out, looks great, nice and moist, staying fresh, but she wasn't cleaning it with clean water. So I just wanted to show you that this is not, I'm not talking about things that are just a phenomenon in developing countries. This is Horticulture Research Station at just north of Ames at Iowa State. Now that machine that they've got there is a very interesting machine. Iowa State got this machine, put it in their facility here, and this is a field day. All these folks are interested about how to have clean vegetables, how to get them into the marketplace. Iowa State was doing all this research on different things, and after they were done with the research on melons, on peppers, on beans, on sweet corn, after they were done with the research, what did they do? They threw the food away. So then you go to Ames and you go to the food service and you say, where do you get your melons and your peppers and your beans? They say, well, we get it off the truck. Where does the truck come from? It comes from California. This is the premier agriculture research institution in the United States, and they're throwing their food away and buying it from California. Does that make sense? This is the society that we live in today. So this fellow here had a genius solution. He said, why don't we sell some of our own produce to our own cafeteria? Imagine that. So they started with green, and so they had to have a machine, though, to meet USDA rules and regulations. And so this is manufactured by the Amish up in Pennsylvania. It scrubs it up real good, it shoots it out the back, and then they could package it and take it into a cold store after that. So what did they use in this machine? And I know the last meeting at ECHO I was at talking about this was, they talked about the use of chlorine. And this particular gentleman introduced me to peracetic acid, and I'd never heard of that before, but peracetic acid, if you look down here, peracetic acid blends have been approved by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, approved as a sanitizer on food contact surfaces under the Code of Federal Regulations, and for direct contact with fruits, vegetables, meat, poultry, and seafood. In other words, it's the good stuff, okay? It's the good stuff that they mix, and they had an injector, and they mixed it up just right. But once it's washed with this, and it goes out that backside, then that solves the problem of meeting U.S. Food and Drug Regulations so that they can feed it to students at Iowa State. So, now, what's the story here? Anybody been to an ice plant? You should go, okay? You should go because it's like, you know the scary thing? You get a Coca-Cola, right? Then what do? Look, 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 right? 2 questions. Do they have a filter on the Coke water? And where did the ice come from? Okay? Is it clean or is it? And we all want to eat? Very good. Wow, you're a good class. You got it, okay? So clean and dirty applies to ice too. Guess what? If that ice is dirty there and you put dirty ice on top of your broccoli, what are you going to get? You're going to get dirty broccoli again, okay? So you got to know, one, is there a filter at the ice plant? Is the water that's going into the, you know how ice plants work? It's a whole nother course, okay? It's a fascinating thing. They call this cooking ice. That's 125 kilos of ice. They take that outside, they chip it like that, they put it on shrimp, they put it on fish, they put it on vegetables, and they might put it in your soft drink too, if you don't. Put it on your chicken, better know that that water's clean. Ask those questions, go visit those places, open your eyes. These are all closed buildings where secret things are happening. You know the other thing that's wrong with it, the other thing about this plant? What's wrong if you live next to this plant? This plant uses, for cooling, for supercooling this salt-laden water solution to make this ice. To cook this ice, what do they use? They use compressed ammonia. And in developing countries, if a plant like this has a leak, guess what? You better know which way the wind is blowing. Because guaranteed, they don't have safety equipment here, and they don't have a fire truck that knows what to do in an ammonia leak situation. And it is dangerous, with a capital D. So I'm going to tell a little story just to show that, we have this problem in the United States. I don't want to pick on, the poor lady doing the lettuce and just saying this is a problem in another place. It's a problem right here. So I've worked all over the world. I worked for Heifer. I worked with Whiterock International for 16 years. Decided to quit flying so much. I got tired of being jet lagged. And so I'm working at a place in Iowa now, fascinating place. You're all welcome to come and visit, seriously. So we go to Carroll, Iowa, which is in the middle of corn and soybean desert, okay? It's where we live, is in a desert, except it's corn and soybeans. We go to Walmart to get our groceries, and I go to Walmart, and guess what I saw in Walmart? You'll never guess. It's fascinating. Frida's Rockin' Rambutan. Now, I would guarantee that 99.99% of people in Carroll, Iowa, don't have a clue what a rambutan is, okay? That's one problem, okay? But now as a cold chain expert, which you all are, you know about clean, you know about wash your hands, probably keep things cold too, okay? What's the problem with this rambutan? Come on, people, what's the problem with that rambutan? What color is rambutan? What color is that? You like brown? I don't like brown in rambutan. Now, if you look real careful on that package, guess what it says? It's a cold chain presentation. Guess what it says? Keep refrigerated. Oh my gosh, guess where this was? It's next to the oranges. Okay, this is food abuse, people. Food abuse. This is ignorant people marketing a product in an inappropriate way to the wrong people in the wrong place and using the wrong methodology. Okay, this is what we live with in the United States today. $3.60 for 6 rambutan that are brown. God only knows what's inside. And if people that have never had them think it's okay. says, and rambutan should be air-shipped, okay? They can't be shipped in a container. They can't be kept cold that long. They turn brown like this. This is what cold chain University of California people have in that little button I told you to press. It'll tell you about rambutan. Rambutan are tricky, just like carambola. I know the guy that exports carambola from Malaysia to Europe. He puts them like in little styrofoam egg cartons, and they go on an airplane, and they get all refrigerated, and they arrive there so people can have them in their drinks in fancy hotels. Make a lot of money, if you can figure this out. But I don't think Frida's going to be making too much money in Carroll, Iowa with her rambutan. It's all going to be thrown away. It all went in the landfill. So one of the things you need to think about when you're doing a project is how to remove field heat. Now, you can put it in a stream, you can put ice on it, you can pull things off, and you may say, oh, Mr. Gudahl, oh, Dan, this type of thing, this is how you do it in the United States. You package it in the field, you put those boxes that are made specifically to have airflow through them in the trucks that they're going to be shipped in. You back those trucks up into a big machine like this right here, and that machine, when it's fired up, pushes cold air through the whole truck. There's airflow through that truck, and that produce is able to cool down. However, and pre-cooling benefits are all of these things. You cool stuff down, it stays longer. You put milk outside, it goes bad. You put milk in the fridge, it stays longer. It's a very simple thing. So pre-cooling is very important. Pre-cooling can happen in countries like Zambia. If you don't know, that's a cooling unit. On top of this was bananas being hauled into Lusaka in a truck like this. And in trucks like this, you can use something called telematics. They put computer chips in there that bounce off to the sky, and you can get on your computer and tell you how long that stayed cold and what temperature fluctuations there were inside that truck. Standard stuff. If you want your farmers to make money, if you want to move produce into the big cities where the major money is being made, telematics could be part of what you're doing. Pre-cooling produce, you can look up that. It's just a matter of saying that pre-cooling is good. We did this in Pakistan with apples. We brought the chilling machine out to the field, and we used one of these things. So you say, this isn't practical, it's too big or whatever. How many have heard of CoolBot? Okay, that's good. Dr. Lisa is a big promoter of CoolBot technology. What this does, simply put, you look it up online, you hook that up to an air conditioner, it'll bring a room down to 36 degrees or 40 or whatever the temperature is that you need your fruit to do. Normal air conditioner won't cool your room down more than 65, something like that. This short circuits what an air conditioner does. It makes it chill a room. So you can chill meat, you can chill veggies. You can have this in appropriate situations as long as you've got a little bit of electricity. So coldstore.com is one of the addresses. It was a technology introduced by this couple up in New York, and it's spread all around. You can make your own. You can make your own, or you can buy one from them that looks like this. You start looking for this stuff, I'm telling you, you start looking for these things, you'll see it. It's there in a variety of situations. If you're sitting on the runway in Nairobi and watching them load the plane and seeing all the French beans going in there, you can be sure that all those French beans have been chilled one way or another in smaller chillers and coolers like this. So, temperature requirements. Now, another thing, when you're selling vegetables, when you sell vegetables, what's the main thing that you're selling? People, main thing here? Water, yeah. Okay, so you don't want to put juicy fruits and vegetables in situations that are too dry. Why? They'll turn to raisins, they'll desiccate. So you have to be conscious because a cold environment tends to take humidity out of the air, so you have to have a humidifier, and you should have something called an ethylene scrubber if it's a big area. Anybody seen an ethylene scrubber? Any place where you store fruit and boxes and things like that, this takes ethylene out of the air. Ethylene is the gas that fruit releases when it starts to decay. So banana storage, mango storage, apple storage, any of those will have ethylene scrubbers inside the cold area. I just wanted to mention this couple of terms here. USDA has extensive food safety regulations that are pretty good and that are adopted. The Philippines adopts the same standards but don't follow them, don't enforce them. 9 CFR Part 309 is a federal law about HACCP, and HACCP is Hazard Analysis Critical Control Points. Any plant that's manufacturing or doing something with food internationally or wants to import into the United States has to have a HACCP plan. Basically, that means how do you keep things clean all the way through, and where are the problems? So a plant that has a good HACCP plan in place and been inspected, I've been to the shrimp packaging plant in Bangladesh, for example, and you can see rat traps around. It's part of the HACCP plan, you know, to keep rodents under control, and people wear masks, people wear gloves, people wear hairnet, that type of thing. It's part of the HACCP plan, et cetera. And then FIFO, everybody know what FIFO is? Inventory control, FIFO? First in, first out. So even in a home situation, in subsistence agriculture, eat the things that you harvested first, and then eat the things that you harvested later on. That's first in, first out. You might think this is in Bangladesh. This is a freezer for shrimp processing. Small farmers aggregated together, deliver their shrimp to this plant. This shrimp plant then freezes them in blocks, puts them in plastic bags, gets enough for a 20-foot container, sends it to Germany. These are small farmers. I've seen them. They're poor, but they make money on the shrimp. They've never eaten shrimp before. They're eating fish out of the pond, but they're not eating shrimp. But this is where they make their money from, is having something go into the cold chain and go into the high-value market in a place like Europe. This is Philippines again, 5 types of fruit. IQF. You know what IQF is? Individual, quick. It's a cold chain thing. Individual, quick, frozen. Yeah, IQF. So it runs it through a machine. It freezes it real fast. Everything looks really good. Everything looks really good here. This is packaged up. Get a 20-foot container again, take it to Caraga Region, goes to Japan, and this goes to smoothie outlets in Japan. And guess what? They make about 5 to 7 times more on their fruit doing this than if they just sold their fruit. And it's also the regulations for importation into Japan are a whole lot different for fresh fruit than they are for frozen fruit, and it's a lot easier with frozen fruit as well. Another example, that's like butter, that's like honey, those are so good. That's IQF mango cheeks, okay? IQF mango cheeks, peeled, sliced, quick frozen, vacuum packed. Guess what? 10 times more value for those mango cheeks in Japan or Korea than they'd get at market in Cebu. If you can't figure out how to make money on times 10, you're pretty hopeless, okay? But a lot of people aren't thinking, I'm going to send my product to Korea, I'm going to send it to Japan where they got a lot of money. I'm going to freeze it. Maybe give those people times 5, and I'll take the other times 5. This guy that was doing this, well, I knew a guy in Cebu that was doing this, and a mango producer, and he made a lot of money and bought a big hacienda. International food terrorism is an issue as well. You know, if ISIS were smart, they'd mess around with our water supply. That's going to hit everybody randomly, but don't tell them I said that, okay? If you want to look internationally or here in the United States, there's something called the Global Cold Chain Alliance, GCCA. They're located. So that's just a picture of what a big cold store looks like here in the United States. Mobile racking, computerized order picking. It's a really amazing thing to see, and they're all around us right here as well in Florida. But global cold chain, if you want to know more about cold chain and what's going on there. This is a whole class too, but I just like to use P's so you remember it. Planning, product, price, production, post-harvest, phytosanitary practices, promotion, and policies are all part of vegetable growing. I'm going to grow vegetables, I'm going to be a subsistence, I'm going to grow a lot of this stuff. You got to think about all these things if you're going to get beyond living from hand to mouth. Because this is what the world is all about today, is about connecting people to markets. So don't stand on your bananas, okay? Please. It's rude. It's very rude. You know, this is temperature abuse again. These are bananas going in a hot container for a 15-hour journey to Manila. Immediately when they're put in that container, they're third-class bananas. There's no chance to sell these bananas as first class, second class, higher prices for farmers. What do? pack them in hot containers, put them on the ship, pray to God that the ship doesn't break down, unload them in the port of Manila, and they all go out to feed the 12 million people in Manila. None of them make it to 7-Eleven. None of them make it to the big supermarkets there. Third-class bananas. Farmers are getting a low price. These guys are getting their cut. Not these guys. These are just packers, stevedores. But, you know, it's rude to stand on your bananas. Don't do it, okay? And really, these should be refrigerated as well. So this is a flow chart for what we did with lobsters. Why do we work with lobsters? We work with poor people and lobsters. They live in a beautiful area. They get the lobster fried. They grow the lobsters up under their houses. Beautiful. Lobsters make a lot of money because Chinese want to eat lobsters. And when you're in the Philippines, you know what you can hear? A big sucking sound from China. They want to suck up everything that you got that's good, okay? So right here is where the cold chain is. Right there. These people over here that are doing all this don't have a clue about this over here. It's online. You can look at what the prices of lobster in Hong Kong is right now. You can look at it. Right here. So what do? You drop the lobster down. Oh, drop the lobster down at 18 degrees. There's a guy that wraps them up like that. They'll still stay alive in that situation. You can get them out so that when they get to the Chinese restaurant, where the restaurant is charging $58 a kilo, farmers getting 20, Chinese restaurant getting 58, okay? So somewhere in there, the middleman's getting a whole bunch of money. We took people on the plane. We said, here, let's go and see where your lobsters are being sold, what they're really worth. And their eyes are open. Never been on a plane before. Raising beautiful lobster. Anyway, that's a long story. This is back to Bangladesh again. This is the guy that's breaking out the pans and the shrimp that are going to Germany from Bangladesh. Poor farmers raising shrimp, using cold chain, going to Germany. Now, what do the poor farmers have to do? They all have to wash their hands. If they're putting dirty crap on their shrimp, the Germans, who are very efficient, will test one of those shrimp and say, these are dirty. The whole bunch goes back to Bangladesh. One shrimp, the whole bunch goes back to Bangladesh. So, but poor people understand this because they understand finances. They understand money. This guy's very happy. Does he look happy? Why is he happy? He's from Quetta in Pakistan, and they have to sell on the coast in Karachi. Guess what? People in Quetta think that if they go to Karachi, everybody in Karachi is going to cut their head off. And people in Karachi think if they go to Quetta, guess what? Everybody's going to cut their head off. The boxes are made in Karachi, a long ways away. These guys are raising beautiful heritage grapes, okay? Not getting them to market. They can't get them to Karachi. Why? No boxes. They got the grapes. They know how to produce the grapes. We help them get the boxes through there's about 500 people in their ag group, get the boxes, harvest their grapes, take those grapes, put them in cold store, put something called grape guard on top, which is sulfur that keeps the grapes from rotting. They shipped it to Quetta. Guess what happened? Nobody's got their head cut off. And these guys that are in the marketing, people that are in the market, guess what they love? They love money. They want to make money. Farmer wants to make money. Guy in the market wants to make money. He opened up the truck. Here's a perfect truck. Box, 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 box. Open up the grapes. All perfect. Grapes taste good. Okay, here's my price. Boom! They all go back to Quetta and say, we doubled our money by having boxes, a little bit of extra work, a little bit of expense, and they made twice as much as they normally would. This is me in Japan. In Japan, you know, there's something, you ever had soju? You know what soju is? Sweet potato sake. They had a problem with the sweet potatoes. They harvested sweet potatoes, they make the soju, and everybody went home after that. So they cooked the sweet potatoes, froze them, put them in the cold store, and they can make soju all year round. And this is actually frozen sardines that they're feeding to a higher value fish out in huge fish cages in the Pacific Ocean. I could talk a whole 45 minutes. I got 2 minutes left. I could talk a whole 45 minutes about this. Did you know that if you have ants going up your mango tree, that they get on the mango and they pee on it? Gosh, I never knew that. They leave little black spots, and like 3 days later you'll see black spots, and it's a defect on these mangoes. Anyway, we had to get guys from Cebu, 5-hour boat ride away, to come because they were the ones that are expert at grading mangoes. So you have 1, 2s, and 3s. 1s go into the fresh market, 2s go in the local market, 3s go into the cutting market or the dried mango market. What's wrong here? These guys weren't, the pickers are just local guys. They weren't being nice to the mangoes. Before they put down that sheet of paper, there was a water buffalo that had laid there, of course, with all his accoutrements all around him. You know, they should have had a sorting table. And these weren't going into cold store. But it's a long story. Also, flowers, very important to have. How do you get flowers from Ecuador into the supermarket here in Fort Myers? It's through the cold chain. And they all come up in the airplanes when they're coming and going. So last but not least, if you still think I'm full of baloney, don't know what I'm talking about, can't work internationally, get a pig, okay? At least that way you can feed whatever's left over to your pig and use your pig as your storage for your food loss and food waste, okay? Doesn't that make sense? That's what Grandpa used to do. So one of these pigs, half of that is in a cold store right now, one of those pigs. And it's going to my freezer. So I bought that from a guy. Look, they're eating apples. They're eating wonderful, beautiful apples, wasted apples. And it's part of food loss, food waste problem. So that's my little overview of cold chain, cold store. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll be around at a table later on this afternoon if you want to talk to me at the farm. Thank you again for the invitation. Come visit me in Iowa. We are in some place it's called deep rural. Have you ever been to a place that's deep rural? That's like a place where the road runs out. If you're in Zimbabwe, the road stops there, and then you go on a donkey from there, okay? So that's kind of where I am from the Iowa landscape. We're in a food desert as well. Can't get fresh vegetables unless you drive 20, 30 miles. It's really something. Anyway, Whiterock Conservancy, look it up online, like our webpage, you know, all those things. Get on Facebook, friend me. And thank you very much.